Hi, I'm Charles Pullen. I'm the AAF District 14 Addy Chair from 2009-2010. I was formerly the president of A2N2 in Northern Nevada, now known as AAF Reno. And what I'm going to talk to you about from my experiences in the past as being an Addy Chair and a former president of the local club is about bagging for the local Addy competition. What you see here is kind of how the entries are brought to the competition from various local clubs. It could be down here that we have Fresno, Sacramento. It could be something from Texas or what have you like that, which is technically in another district. But the point being is that, as you can see, there's a variety of different bags. What we have here is a CD in a cellophane wrapper, not very sturdy. We have this one, which is some kind of a poster description thing that is going to get damaged. Not a good bag. And this is what we want to talk about. Oh, look, here's one from the Wizard of Oz from the Munchkins. That's another good bag. So what we're going to talk about here is how we have out in Reno for the last 4 to 5 years since they initiated the bagging system, how we've gone about putting our entries together to create a uniform bagging system that is better for the entrants and better for those people who are judging. Okay. What we have, again, is a variety of these different bags. And I really don't want to slam any particular club or any entrance about how they bagged. Ultimately, the goal here is to protect the entries. Once they leave the entrant's hands, you really can't control how they're protected and how they're handled. And that's not to say anything bad about the people who are volunteering. A lot of the people, obviously everybody, is volunteering their time. And part of the goal of creating a uniform bagging system is actually to help save time while we're actually protecting the entries. So we've got a number of different styles of bags here. Some of these are pretty good. This one's not bad. It's see-through. It's easily enclosed, but it's just not quite big enough, really. I've shown you this one, very small. This one, not a very good, sturdy. This one also not sturdy and apparently from the future in the silver packaging. This one has kind of the wrapping thing going around it, which is very secure. This one's pretty sturdy, partly because of the contents. If you'll notice, it doesn't matter which bag you pick up, nothing's really very sturdy. Ultimately, what you get is a whole lot of different size bags that the people who are handling them have to try to coordinate. And in trying to put them in category order and then trying to pick them up, you're actually going to have a hard kind of time. Now, ultimately, they're always hard to handle, even when you see the bags that we're proposing that the clubs use. But because of the different size of bags, you can't actually see through them. You can't see if the entry is in there. The volunteers are constantly having to look into the bag to try to find what's going there, take it out, make sure that the bag is with the entry. The labeling is not uniform. All of these things help the judging competition go better for the participants and the entrants, the volunteers, and creates a savings of time and a much better quality of a judging competition, ultimately providing protection for the entries as they move from club to district to nationals. Now, to take care of all these entries, we generally use boxes. This was a box that was sent in from one of the local clubs. It's just kind of a regular box. What we generally use, or suggest you use, is a banker's box. Now, if we took all of these particular entries, all these different sizes, this is kind of what you come up with. And when the volunteers at the Addy competition are trying to sort these, they have to go through and they have to find the numbers. And if you notice, the numbers are seldom in the same place. There's no sizing that is the same. Here's another bag. Somebody's overcompensating for something. We're not sure what that's about. And so you have a whole different set of bags, different styles, different labeling formats that everybody is using. And it makes it very hard for the volunteers who are handling the competition to be able to keep track of everything. Not to mention the fact when you're taking some of these out, they're kind of hard to grab. And ultimately, because cassettes or the CDs are not put in bags, you have that kind of a problem where things are just getting dropped out. Okay? So this is generally what a lot of the clubs have when they put them all together and they put them in order. This is pretty much what it looks like. It's not uniform. It's hard to keep track of. And ultimately, you're looking behind a big bag for a small entry, and it just doesn't make for a very easy competition to conduct. So here's what we're proposing. We're proposing one uniform bag that will handle probably 85–90% of all of your entries. It's a 13 by 18 plastic bag. I believe it's about 2 mil, but it comes from Uline. What this bag allows us to do is to be able to, as the volunteers, to be able to see the entry on the outside. On the back is the entry information. On the front, it's tagged so that when the piece is laid out for judging and we take this piece out and we lay it down, we have a real easy place for the judges to be able to mark their judging score sheets. And then we have the ability for ourselves to take a quick look. Inside the bag is a piece of chipboard. And we get this from a local printer. We just ask them to donate the chipboard. The bag is 13 by 18. We have these cut down to about, a 12 by 17. And then this is how we actually lay them out in Reno. Comparatively, this bag, which you can't see what the entry is, and you lay it out, and it doesn't have the number out for the judge. They have to flip it over to take a look at it. It's a little bit cumbersome. You can't see everything. And to be quite honest with you, this one right here would have fit in this bag just fine. So I think we've pointed out a number of the different bags that most of the clubs use and the inconsistency with them. And ultimately, with the bags that we've shown you that we use out here in Reno, here's the difference. This is what your competition looks like. This is what our competition looks like. So we have the disorganized way of doing it, and then we have this way. What this also does is when you kind of dictate how the packaging goes, and if you put the number up here in the corner, you can put it in the center, you can put it on the left side, whatever. But as you can see, you're actually creating a file system where you can actually thumb through here, all right? And it doesn't matter what kind of entry you have, almost all of them will fit in here. Even to the point where even if we have CDs for your radio TV, we actually use an envelope here for the CD alone, because what it allows us to do is it allows this uniformity to actually go through here. It saves a lot of time for the volunteers, and it really does help the volunteers ensure that the entries are actually taken care of. All right, here's another small one right here. It's small, but at the same time, we keep it in a uniform package. Now, there are some exceptions to it. Now, keep in mind there are exceptions to everything. These are a couple of different entries that would come in. This would be a poster, how you might take and put a poster together. And again, it just depends on what the type of entry is as to how you might handle it. Now, we actually take these posters and we actually take and put them in a bag, and they stick out like that, and that's fine because, again, it allows us to sort it. It actually protects the poster, and it keeps everything in some kind of level of uniformity. Also, you have here a special entry that obviously really needs a little bit more protection than something that might fit into a bag. We have had people actually put these in there, and they are still able to be taken care of because, well, they fit. A little bit cumbersome, but you know what? Not everything is 100%. Just as the volunteers would just have to keep track of this type of entry, make a little special effort, and that's okay. You can actually take one of these folders and create a marker in your pile for this entry. You can write on it, say, look for special boxing or something like that. Okay, in talking about special entries that maybe need to be shipped in a special way, here's another way you could do it. You've got the box, we've got the marinara sauce, it's inside the box, it's inside the bag, it drops into the entries, it gets filed, and we're done. A lot of people ask how we put these things together. How do we get these bags to the entrance? There's a couple of ways. First of all, you have to order the bags, and again, we'll get to that later. But we usually have a drop-off party in Reno, and that'll happen towards the end of January. We'll have somebody sponsor it, perhaps a local photographer like Jeff Dow, who's doing this shooting for us. We'll have some wines, some crackers, cheese, what have you, some light snacks. And we'll actually have stations for entrance to put these together. Now, what the entrance will need to do is to actually bring their own printouts. Okay, they can print it at their office. We'll have scissors, generally there, some tape. We'll already have these boards and these bags all put together. So ultimately, all they have to do is do the inserts, little cutout, little tape. You want to try not to make these too sticky necessarily. Maybe leave a corner that you can perhaps grab so that later on when we take them off or to reuse them, we can actually reuse them. Now, also there's one other thing here that's really important that we do in Reno. We have every entrant submit 2 copies of the entries. And why is that important? Well, one of them is for the judging and for the display of the actual Addy event when you present awards. So let's say these were the same 2. We would take this and put it in the judging pile, and we would take this copy and we would leave it out in, say, an alphabetical file. What that allows us to do is, A, we take these out for judging, all right? Once they're judged, we put them back in and we hold them. Then when the Addy event comes on, we'll take them out, put a little tag on them, and when we put them to the wall. And why is that important? Because after the Addy competition or the Addy event where you present the awards, everybody's probably had a little bit to drink, and you really don't want to have to worry about putting these back in the right bag, so you can basically just tear them down. Entrants, if they want to take their copies home with them, they can go get their copies. And what you have is this entry over here that's still filed alphabetically or numerically, however you want to do it, that you can take and forward. If it's a gold or silvers that entrants want their silvers to be forwarded, you can take and pull those without having to worry about saving the ones from the event and the competition and the awards banquet. So what we have are the entries that a lot of the other clubs use, and when it comes to the end of the competition, you really can't reuse these. This one didn't get forwarded. You can't reuse this envelope either, nothing like that. The great thing about these envelopes with the chipboard is that you take again, you get a little wine, have a few people over, you take the pieces out. Jeff is going to save this one. Take the form out of the other side. There's one bag for next year. And you go through them. And what you're doing is actually setting up your ability to have bags all ready to go for next year. Reusable, environmentally friendly, right? So let's talk a little bit about the boxes that we use here. Now, this is a standard box. It's about the right size. It would technically be fine. Get it from a grocery store or something like that. But it has no handles. It'll be a little bit clunkier to handle. This bucket we've used in the past in Reno, and it will hold a large number of these entries. Now, you can see another example is I just picked all of these entries up without anything falling out. When you put them in this bucket, it'll hold a lot, but at the end of it, this bucket's going to be really heavy to handle. And they do tend to slide a little bit in this bucket if you get too many of them in there. The banker's box, on the other hand, allows you to do a little bit more organizing. If you have a large entry section, like I think it's 71 is the logos. A lot of clubs will have a lot of logos. It allows you to segment things out. Perhaps you'll put all of the 60s in here, or perhaps all of the 50s, the teens, and et cetera like that, and then you can organize them. So you might have, say, 10 or 15 of these boxes handy, which allows you to segment out the categories and then segment them out again, because you can go through here and do the filing. Plus, they only hold so many, so anybody can actually pick them up. And that's the kind of box that we use. So it really doesn't matter how you tend to organize it, even if you have them on the table. This particular bagging system allows you to do a lot of different things with it, whereas this particular bagging system, depending on what you're doing, is a little bit harder to handle. So here's the ordering information. What you do is go to uline.com. and you look for the 13 by 18 size bag, which is S-1668. You'll find it in there. The pricing is in there, and it depends on what size club you are and how many entries you have as to how many bags you'll obviously need. If you ordered one box, that's 250 of these bags, that's $103. For 3 boxes, they would cost about $97. What you would get then is 750 different bags. Now, if you're a club that gets, say, 250 bags, entries on average, for 2 entries, if you decided to go with the duplicate entries, you would need 500 bags. So you would already have a surplus if you went ahead and ordered the 3 boxes. Plus, they're reusable. So let's say that 10% of your entries or 20% of your entries, say 50 each year, went on to district and you didn't get those back. It's going to take you a number of years before you actually have to worry about ordering another set of bags. Say about, on average, 50, 75 cents ultimately is what it's going to cost you for a number of years to make use of these bags. So guys, we talked about the different kinds of bags. We've talked about the comparison of the packaging of how a lot of clubs do it and how we do it here in Reno. There's a few other clubs apparently around the country that have used these bags as well. The cost of these bags over the lifetime of the bag is really not that much. It provides a protective packaging that the entrant knows that their entry is being taken care of over the life of the competition, and it saves a lot of time for the volunteers who are actually volunteering for the competition. If you don't see value in the comparison of how you can do it and how it's generally being done, then I would say that you're probably somebody who hasn't been involved in the past, and I would encourage you to do so. Also, I would suggest that possibly if you like this, that the clubs and even the district levels reach out to the national committee members, and I'd say to the national committee members now, I think it's time that we probably dictate a style of packaging that we use throughout the country, and it can be built into the cost. Again, the cost of it will spread out over the life of the bag. It's pretty simple. It saves time. It's easy to handle, and that's our presentation. I hope you find some value in it. I hope you got the information, and whatever you do, try to keep it fun. I'm Charles Pullen. Thanks for listening.